I meet every family member that comes into my business. I meet them personally.
Wow.
And so I spend a lot of time there. And I think what happens is when my nurses and my aides and everybody sees my commitment to what we're doing, then two things are going to happen. They're going to fully understand my commitment, and they're going to want to be a part of me and what I want for these families at the end of life, or they're not going to want that because it takes a lot to do what we do.
Welcome to the In the Arena podcast. My name is Jared Miguez, a co-host on this podcast that brings you the inspiring stories of our clients who are leaders and innovators across different industries in Southeast Louisiana. They are visionary entrepreneurs, savvy real estate professionals, media creators, military business owners, and community champions. And we are going to showcase the remarkable achievements and share their personal stories. Tune in for insightful conversations, valuable lessons, and motivational stories that are going to reveal their secrets to success and offer you insights to help you on your own path. Welcome to In the Arena podcast. Well, welcome to the In the Arena podcast. Today we have one of my great friends, Mark Malkemus, and my neighbor.
That's right.
Mark Malkemus. And then I got my partner, Lauren, here today. So we're looking forward to talking to you, Mark.
Yeah, I'm excited. Yeah. I don't know where this is going to go, but let's talk.
That's the fun part about
Alaska. We usually take a trip to
Been
Alaska
there.
and
It's
back.
been great.
Yeah.
So before we started, you just now mentioned you wanted to tell more people about hospice, right? And you've done a lot of things in your career. So I definitely want to get into that because I think you'll add a lot of value from a mindset standpoint. But let's just jump straight into what you're doing and the impact you're making now. So tell us about your company and what it means to you and the impact that y'all are trying to make.
Okay. So I own and operate. I'm the owner / administrator of Foundations Hospice, and it's a locally owned hospice company. And our office is located in Albany, and that's we serve a 50-mile radius from Albany. So we cover all the way to Baton Rouge, all the way to Slidell, Bogalusa, Franklinton, Greensburg, and then all the way to Marrero in the West Bank and all of New Orleans. So we started out just building it on the North Shore. And now the word of mouth is getting out and having exceptional care for people at the end of life. Our business is growing organically. And so now we're actually covering from Baton Rouge to Pearl River to all those areas I mentioned and also Marrero. So
So tell us about hospice. When does that start? I think people have a perspective of that it's all like you got a week to live, but it's beyond that, right?
Yeah.
Tell us about when.
I'm going to probably spend the rest of my life trying to educate people on really what the benefit is. So hospice is a benefit given to everybody in the United States. It's paid for by Medicare, Medicaid, and some private insurance. So everybody gets it. What has to happen for someone to receive the benefit, a doctor has to write an order, and after that order is written, you have to have a terminal illness, which could be 6 months or less prognosis if not treated.
Gotcha.
And then once that doctor writes the order, then another doctor has to agree with that, and an RN has to collaborate with that for the benefit to start.
Gotcha.
And once the benefit starts, then a person has a 90-day benefit period. Then they have another 90-day benefit period, and after that, then they have 60-day benefit periods that needs to be recertified every 60 days.
Gotcha.
So you're right. Everybody's perception is I call hospice in. Someone's going to pass in the next day or two. Jimmy Carter lived on hospice for 2 years. Wow. So as long as that we can document and show CMS that there's a decline, then a person can stay on.
Gotcha. And you're doing this, you said you have a 50-mile radius. That's long distance, and I'm sure that Albany office is y'all's hub. You'll move from there. You're going to people's homes, correct?
There's 4 types of hospice care under the benefit. One is routine home care. That's about 95% of our business, which that definition is we go to where anybody calls home. That means a senior living, it could be nursing home, it could be private home, any of that. So that's the first, routine. The other one is called continuous care. That continuous care is when someone is unstable and a nurse will be with the patient up to 8 hours in the shift work to be there to control them. And the third is a respite, and respite means rest. And what that part of hospice does, it lets the caregiver get a break. So during any of those benefit periods, say someone needed to go to a wedding or just needed a break, then what we will do then, we have contracts, we take that patient and move that patient to a contracted facility. There they get 5 days in that facility where the family member can get some rest.
Gotcha.
And the last piece is a GIP. That's something that If someone cannot be controlled at home, then we move them to a hospital setting where then someone has several days to try to get control there. We have not ever used that in our 4 years of building it. So we've done a great job at keeping people controlled at home.
In their comfortable environment. See, we spend a lot of time on that because part of our estate planning package, it's 5 documents, but one of them is the medical directive, which is the living will.
That's right.
And, years ago when I first started practice, 15, 16 years ago, it was very, very simple. Like, you want life support, you don't want life support. Well, today our document looks totally different. And now we have a section on it that talks about your last days. And it says, do you want to be in a hospice facility? Do you want to be at home with hospice care? Do you want to stay in the hospital? So it's allowing them to start that conversation to see exactly how they want that, those last days to be. And I have a personal experience with it from being in ICU, telling my husband what my wishes were, and it being hard for him in that moment, to take that direction. And then also, my father-in-law diagnosed with a brain tumor and was so far gone that we had to make those decisions for him without him understanding it. So I applaud you for getting out there and trying to spread the word of what it even entails so people have a better understanding and can make that decision for themselves and take that burden off of the family.
We try to encourage that, right? Because if not, then there are, I see it all the time, siblings disagreeing on what mom wanted, who said what. So having that post in place early is it's just mindful of the people that you're ultimately going to impact.
Set your family up for peace so that they can focus on grieving and caring for you and not focus on fighting one another.
We constantly try to educate that advance directive. It's part of the consent package that we have.
Oh, really? That's great. So if somebody is been given this benefit, they have the ability to choose which hospice group they want to be a part of?
100%.
And how do they make that decision?
So it depends on, where they are when they maybe are given the information that they have a terminal illness. If they're in the hospital setting, a lot of hospitals come out with a list and they give the family a list and say, or the social worker, the case manager comes out, here's the list of hospices, go through and then you contact
the other one you want.
Whoever you want. It is 100% the patient's choice. And then doctors have relationships with people. And really what happens is over time, when you continue to provide incredible care, word of mouth kicks in and everybody knows. And like us right now, you could go on Google, people find us that way. We probably have over 40 reviews right now, all 5-star rating. And that's families putting that out there. So I think doctors get that information, family members, and even anybody in this room can refer hospice. Yeah. Just because you refer hospice, you can refer it. That means what that triggers is us to go out and give that person information about the benefit. Doesn't mean they can sign up because they still need that doctor's order to be able to evaluate and admit if appropriate.
Gotcha. And so one of the things we talk about often with our business clients is the standard in which you operate your business. You have a different standard and customer service you have to offer. I mean, you're taking care of somebody at the last stages of their life. You have this level of dignity you have to offer and care and taking care of people. How do you set that standard? I can imagine that when you started out in this business, that was something that you had to really wrap your brain around to be able to consider.
You think about that. So I know y'all probably talk about mission statements and vision statements. And so ours is serving people at the end of life with honor and dignity. And so how do you do that? I think from our standpoint, it really starts with at the top. It starts with my commitment to that. And then it starts as the team to watch that. They watch us do that. They watch me serve people. And so all I really do is I have an office, but I don't spend any time in my office. I am forced to go there once a week for a meeting, and I go, and we have our admin meeting. But the rest of the 6 days of the week, I'm in the field. I'm with families. I meet every family member that comes into my business. I meet them personally.
Wow.
And so I spend a lot of time there. And I think what happens is when my nurses and my aides and everybody sees my commitment to what we're doing, then two things are going to happen. They're going to fully understand my commitment, and they're going to want to be a part of me and what I want for these families at the end of life, or they're not going to want that because it takes a lot to do what we do.
Sure.
And if they're not committed, then they don't stick around me very long. Not because they just can't do it. They can't.
Right.
They feel
just
the pressure.
Don't feel.
Yeah.
It's so important to share with what we're doing and because we don't get a do-over. And I educate them on the importance of the end of life and the importance for that family, and they have to feel that. And they just have to be oozing with empathy and compassion. And if they don't have that, then we're probably not a good fit.
They'll be miserable. Yeah.
We're not a good fit.
We have that conversation all the time, especially when hiring. It's just if there's a value misalignment, and if we constantly are pushing our standard and it feels like pressure to you, we're going to drive you crazy.
Yeah, you're not going to want to be. You're not going to want to be here.
You're not going to want to be here either. That's right. And so it's like the most time that you can spend truly understanding who we are, so that you can decide that you feel the same way. That's 100%.
So what you're saying is that we are service. That's all we pretty much are. So having the right people in the right spots is everything.
Yeah. I was listening to a book called The Warrior King by a guy named Colonel Sassman. He was a colonel in the Army during the Iraq War. And he said that the football coach for the what is the Army? What the Citadel? No, that's not the Citadel. But anyway, whatever the Army school and the football team, he was on the football team and the quarterback, and the coach said, "Those who remain will be champions." Is if he's talking to the standard in which they expected them to operate. If you don't want to be here because that standard's too high for you, that's okay. But if you want to step up and live that standard and take on that challenge, you will end up being a champion at the end of the day. So I have that resonating in my head when you talk about standards and people talk about, like, it's hard. It is not something for anybody to step into, be at high volume, high standard like we are. And so if that's hard for you, you don't like that, or you want to be in a different phase of your career, then this isn't the place for you. But if you want to be a champion and you're willing to step up to meet that standard, this is the place for you to be. And
you're rewarded with the impact that you're making.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's the disconnect, I guess, that I don't see, because it's so clear to me. Like if you put in that amount of time and you care about people and you care about your clients that much, then you're going to have a positive impact on them. And that alone just brings you a sense of joy.
Yeah.
And then I think the people that are attracted to that, I think the nurses and even the aides and the social workers, they're attracted to something a little bit different, right? Because there's 30-something hospice companies here, right, in this area. Mm-hmm. So then a lot of people have jumped around, and then when they find something different, it takes them a little while, because at first they're like, they don't, you talk a good game, you hear, but when they constantly see, the action is what really makes people believe, action speaks louder than words, right? 100%. So Amen. I think that's just really the root of all of it.
Yeah. And I love how when you were able to articulate your value statement just like right off the cusp, because it means enough to you that you reiterate that often enough that you're living it more than likely, right? If you write values on the wall or mission statement, you don't actually live it, then it's kind of disconnected from you, and it's hard for you to relate to it and bring up those things it's so easy. But if they become you and they're easy to spout off because you mean it, you're genuine whenever you actually mean it. And when you're having a conversation, you can feel that it's true. I mean, I've never been a part of your hospice program, but I believe you when you talk about it, you know what I mean? And it's important, it's important people feel that whenever you're talking to them, whenever you meet with a client.
People feel it.
For sure.
When I tell you they feel it, they feel your energy, they feel your commitment, they feel your passion, they feel your love, and they feel it. And that's really what we try to talk to people. And you can use all the words that you need, but when they feel you, and when my other salespeople go out and do these infos, and when they talk about it and they know that everything that they see is real because we live it every day, it just oozes out of them. Yeah. And the people most of the people that we talk about our business, but we doing consults against other companies, right? They have two, not everybody lines up 2 or 3, but most people do meet several. And then when we go in and we share what we do and how we do it, remember, it's the same benefit all over the United States. Everything's the same.
Yeah.
And so I recently went against a big company the other day at WestJeff, big company. And I went in and I was thinking that morning when I was walking, what am I going to tell this lady? Because I knew she had chose me first and the other company was second. So I was thinking, now what am I going to say, right? Because the other lady truly kind of had the best position. You would think that being second would be a better opportunity to tell someone more, at least in my mind. And I was wrong. It's really first is the best because you make the best impression.
Yeah.
So I thought about that. But when I went in there, I said, what am I going to, I told her, I said, by the way, everything I'm going to tell you, the other company should tell you the exact same thing. There's only one difference between what I'm going to tell you and what she's going to tell you. And she's looking at me. I go, the difference is I'm the owner of the business and I'm sitting bedside with your husband.
Yeah.
And so that's a big impact when you can say that.
Yeah,
so,
for sure.
And not that I say that because I do it and because my team is busy and when they call me, I'm there.
Yeah.
I mean, if I told you the things that I do right now, you probably wouldn't believe it. Yeah. But we're involved, and one of my family mottos is never quit, never give up. And so that's been on a whiteboard for a long time for me. But this is so special because we're able to educate and help families navigate something that, for the most part, is kind of really difficult, and our culture's not. We're going to all live forever, right? We're all going to look great. We're never going to wrinkle, and it's going to be fabulous.
I'm wrinkling. I'm going to die early.
No.
I already have my long-term care outlined because I know what's happening.
Right. But anyway, I think it's important for us to get people comfortable with this, because the more we educate and we're comfortable, that means that the next generation is going to have it easier. I hope that we can make that
Well, we talked a little bit before we officially got on about leadership, and you bringing up that you were hands-on. I mean, that is the epitome of leadership, is acting first, right? They're only going to follow you if you're out there leading them. So showing up, doing the hard things. Like you said, you wouldn't imagine what you're doing. Well, we're asking other people to do that. So we have to be the ones doing it. Yeah. So, that's one of the things that I like to tell all the people in the organization is like, I know this is hard for you right now. I've done it before. So what questions do you have? Because I'm not going to ask you to do something I haven't done.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah. The Marine, we were reading another book at our leadership meeting called Marine Maxims. And the one maxim that I love so much is uphold the standard every time. And like, you have to be the one leading that example. Right. And then the one we talked about this week was that the way that they used to design military formations was that they put they made the diamond, and the leader was at the front leading the way and showing his sacrifice and his resilience and his bravery to inspire the other people,
and everybody could witness it.
Yeah, everybody could see it because he was in the front of the diamond. And like that, we have to remind ourselves that that's what keeps our people so motivated and bought in, because we are showing that we're bought into the
You're talking about developing a culture based on your actions, right? And so that diamond is important because you're out front, I'm out front, y'all are out front. So we're not asking anybody to do anything that we're not willing to do or have not done.
That's right.
So, and I just feel for me, it's just, I get to continue that because I'm growing a business. And so the first 35 know that I'm doing it, but the next 35 got to know it, just not hear, hey, hear about Mark, what he's doing.
Mark used to be here.
Yeah, he used to do that.
Right. Mm-hmm. No, it's got to continue.
So you, and I know you well enough to know that you've done a lot of stuff over your career. And I know you don't see yourself as a guru, but I think you're a wise person at this point after seeing the things you've done. But you said something earlier that struck me. You said this is different than what you used to do, because a lot of it used to be on Mark to go out and do it yourself. Now you're coaching and leading and you're inspiring people. To me, this opportunity you have, from my perspective, is the best opportunity for you to have a legacy carry on beyond you. Like the real estate that you've done in the past, obviously you can drive by and your kids can be proud that my dad, Mr. Mark Malkemus, was a part of that, right? And you can always have that foundation, say like, we helped develop that piece of property in our great area. But the business that you're going to be able to leave and carry on at some point is going to be your legacy that can live on from that standpoint too. And, you've shifted your mindset, right? This is your last endeavor, and after telling me that you've shifted every 20 years or so doing something different, how have you maintained that mindset of continuous growth, and like what made you decide that this was going to be your last?
I think it started back to what I said a moment ago. Never quit, never give up. Understanding that when we start, that you're going to have a lot of difficult times. I think that people that start businesses don't really understand what that means. Mm-hmm. Not everybody says yes. I've been told no more than probably any of them, only because I'm older. But I think I've been told more than no than all three of y'all. Yeah. But I think that what really helped me is that I have been a advocate of personal development for a very, very long time. So way back when someone gave me a Zig Ziglar, y'all might not even know that. I'm sure y'all knew that. So that started my personal development. And so I will say brainwashed myself with personal development, which ultimately gives me the ability to get kicked and continue to move forward. So I think that personal development, personal growth is probably the biggest thing anybody can do.
Well, you mentioned it's your ability to keep going. I think that the culture and the narrative is that there's some element of control that we have over anything when we lack control over everything but ourselves. So like if there's going to be something that you spend your energy and time on, it's got to be yourself. That is the only thing that you're in control of, is your reactions, your next step, your mindset, your switch to positivity, the impact you want to have. That's what you're in control of.
You're like, I need to get some long hair. Like, no, seriously, I really now I'm kind of into a walking phase now, hour and a half every day. I mean, every day I'm just tuned in because
now you sound like my husband.
I am tuned in, and it's just a constant development process. And you're right, I can't control anybody, but if I control myself and control my mindset, well, then I have a shot at performing.
And impact and self-worth. And I have to give credit to my husband. He's been a huge proponent of that. And he runs every single day, and that's his meditation and like purging the things he needs to purge, and then running into, the positive things and the energy that he needs for the day. And it's intentional. And, because everyone around you, again, is doing the best that they can. Right. And their environment,
you're right.
And then you can turn around and help them if you're in a solid place.
You have
leaders
to
forget that.
You have to continue to pour into yourself, because you're pouring out constantly. And so if you're not, I always vision myself, it's kind of crazy, but as a big battery. And so I charge myself up, and everybody plugs into me all day, and then I unplug, I charge myself up, and they plug in. Not that I'm just, that's how I see myself, because I'm pouring constantly out of just trying to coach in the right way.
I wish I would have had that analogy, because mine was like, explain to my husband, it's so gory, but I have 1,000 cuts every day, all day, every day, because we give. And then it's like you spend time in silence or go to Adoration Chapel, and then that's when like it's sewn up. And then like I'm restored, and then I go back out for the day, and just 1,000 cuts. And you have to be willing with a service mindset. To me, that's what leadership is every single day, and be prepared for it. And you're not screaming every time you're cut. You're just like, okay, and now we can move on, and I can absorb that, and I can take another hit.
So the battery came up when we opened up our senior living community. So I went down that path where we built the senior living community in Covington, and then everybody there is, seniors. Most of them women, 80 plus years old. It was 80 people, 90 people in the building, 6 or 8 men, all women. And it's a tough part of life, right? Yeah. And so we would go in there, and we had to be up every day because everybody else is kind of down. Yeah. And so that's when I came up with the battery. Every day we walked in, we parked it at the door, and you just gave them 110.
Charge it up.
And they plugged in. By the end of the day, they took it out of you, and you had to go back the next day.
So I got 2 questions. I'll start with the first one. What made you get into that? Zig Ziglar. Who introduced you to Zig?
I was thinking, someone, we were talking about that the other day. I think I had an aunt. We were talking about how a person develops. There's got to be someone early in your life that says something to you that I think starts planting a seed, so to speak, into you. So I had an aunt that started calling me Remarkable Mark. And it's something that and she's told me that you can talk to anybody and you can do anything that you put your mind to it, no matter what. And we were my parents are both postmen. We didn't come from a lot of money. So then they lived on the other side of town, and they had everything, but she took the poor boy from the south side and spoke some life into him, and that just something that stuck with me, because I'm often trying to think what makes someone different than the next person, and so it's difficult for me because I've always had someone speak life into me, so that's how I am. Yeah. But now I try to find, how do I make someone else have that?
Yeah.
Right.
And they're an adult. They're not a kid. So
Oh, and it's hard when they're an adult.
For sure.
it is, because someone may have beat you down.
You gotta-
and
you
told
gotta
you were
Not
horrible.
may, likely.
They did.
And
Likely.
you have to overcome all of that, and
Their
then
trauma.
you're plugging the holes in their cup, and then pouring into them, and you got to make sure. And sometimes people aren't ready for that. I mean, I have such a similar story to you. My grandmother, my entire life, no matter what I did, she always told me I could do anything but my mind to. Anything, like my whole life. I just always remember she was always telling me that, and it's just to this day
You can do anything.
There's nothing I can't do because
Right,
she's, it's the value, it's the pouring that she did into me for so early in my life that she never stopped. She still to this day does, and it's like she's never surprised when I tell her I did something else, because it's just she just knows that I have the ability, not an expectation. She just had that much confidence in me.
Mine was an expectation.
Yeah.
It was, I got spoke down to, if anything, and critiqued all the time, because it was like, you're supposed to rise to the occasion. Like, there's no exception. I didn't get a reward. You got 100, and it was like, they didn't have bonus, or did you miss something?
No, it sounds like
You
my
know, and
wife.
when you raise to that standard, I mean, you live up to it. And so we're hard on people with their standards here.
You're hard
That's
on
how
yourself,
I love,
too.
and I tell people all the time, I am, yeah. And that's something I had to work through in a personal growth, because it can be demotivating. But I'm grateful for it, because, again, in everything find edification, right? There's something beautiful to come out of every experience. So it teaches me to maintain a standard and try not to be demotivating.
Yeah,
That's so true. I think that, but trying to do that to people. So we're all fortunate that we had someone do that to us, right? So then you got to be mindful enough as you mature. How are we going to use that, right? How are we going to take that and impact somebody else's life? Because they impacted us. So it's like I need to almost pay it forward to help people that did not get that shot or
So
did not have that aunt.
I'm a process person, so I have to have an SOP for all of it. Jared's
Right.
probably laughing at me right now because he's like, "Oh my gosh, she does that." But I'm like, "This is the tool. Like, this is the consistent problem I'm seeing, and I will create a tool for it." And it all starts back with personality assessments. We have a personality assessment with
Right.
every person on our team that tells them how they're motivated and just generally how they are impacted by stress, so that I don't have to guess. Right? Because it's on paper in front of me, and I can work with that tool, and they can work with that tool. We share everybody's with every single person in the organization. They get mine, I get theirs. Anybody has a problem, the first thing I'm going to ask them is, did y'all compare your DISC assessments, right? And because we talk openly about it. If you are annoyed by those, if your wounds are so deep that you're not ready to work through that, again, then you can't be here, because we
Right.
require that personal development. We require it.
That's so amazing. So I started a book club for my people, and not a lot of them are, what is this, right? I was like, I'm not forced. I want to force everybody, but I can't. It's like, here, this is it, So 5 dysfunctions of a leader.
Oh, yeah.
John
I
Maxwell.
read that one.
Yep. So we're just kind of going into it and slowly, because I think that's the part we're talking about. Some people have never been exposed to any of that. So then they look at you and they're trying like, you're kind of like, we got 2 heads. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
Well, no one's ever shared anything of all of the things that.
And we already annoy them because we're holding
No,
up to this high
100%.
standard, and then we're like, also be better. So you do. It's a gentle balance.
It's a challenge, but that's something that I think that also is a part of this part of my life, is the challenge that I find, having a team of people and slowly seeing, one be more accountable and being more vulnerable with each other, right? So that's a big deal, right? Because being vulnerable means that you're willing to accept the coaching, right? And all the things that it's such a big ball of mess.
It is. No, it is.
And you got to pick and choose, and you got to just so subtly coach each buddy based on their personality and you got to be a darn psychologist almost to really dive
that way
into. If
some
you're
days.
really trying to really lead, if you're really trying to do it, and you're not just giving someone a story, then you're going to do those tests. You're going to find out what happened without going too far, possibly.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Just so you can help, right? Because you're really I feel
care,
like
you can't let go.
if I'm really trying to develop this culture, if I'm really, really seriously trying to develop a team, then me and you're going to get to know each other at another level.
Yeah.
Yep.
Or we're probably not going to fit.
Vulnerability and humility are two words that we don't use enough. And I think that humility is that I'm willing to understand myself enough to know that I've got weaknesses that I have to work on. And it's hard it's hard for me sometimes, because I'm always trying to run and think positive, and stopping and plugging in is not something I do well. So I'm interested. The second question I wanted to ask you, when you're doing that hour and a half walk, and not to, if you don't want to share anything personal, but then tell me you don't want to, but when you're getting into that time, what are you doing in that hour and a half to recharge your battery? What does that look like for Mark?
You know what, since this is a relatively new, since I told you I started personal development a long time ago, so I've gone through a lot of everybody that you can think of and more. I deep dive into I've done a deep dive into every denomination of faith. So that was one thing that I did for a long time. I dove into all of that, and I just wanted to know everybody's perspective on, because I'm dealing with all types of people in my business. I want to know why you feel the way you feel. So it was important for me to at least understand that. I don't have to totally agree with everybody, but I want to know why you felt that way, right? It was really because you were raised that way, and that's what you were taught, and that's okay. So what it looks for me, I did that for the longest. Personal development, books. I do a lot of audibles. I lately, since about April, I've been diving into my business, but this is relatively new to me. So I really have been just listening to, I've been a sponge on everybody and everything I can find out about hospice worldwide.
Gotcha. So you spend your hour and a half of time. That's where you're doing your
100%
research and development.
Listening to every podcast I can, every doctor, everybody that I can hear something different, and that I feel like is really kind of where I've been since about April. But mainly it's been really personal development. All of the things that everybody else's lives, right, and how they struggled through this, and what they did to kind of just be more mindful. I mean, I think really to me, it just boils down to how I can just be grounded in my life, my little whatever. God's going to give me this time here. I need to use it the best I can use. And so therefore I need to pour it more into me, and so I can pour it out. And I need to educate myself in everything that I'm going to be exposed to during the day. And right now it's death and dying and people's denomination, because that's real personal to them
at that point in their life, for sure. Yeah.
So I need to know why. We serve everybody. So, I had a lady, unfortunately, that at a very young age walked out of her apartment in New York, slipped and fell, and became a quadriplegic. And she was very, very smart, but yet all she could do was just look up and had nobody. And I found out that she was a Buddhist, and I was like, okay. And so I did the research of that. Next thing I knew, I had found a group of Buddhist people to chant and pray with her, and she felt comfortable with that, right?
Wow.
So I don't know what it feels like to have all of our mindset right here and being paralyzed and look up at the ceiling and have nobody to do anything for you. But yet you're fully there. You just can't move. So that to me is powerful, right? So I wanted to find that. And I that's what I think. Just being open to everything that comes my way at this point in my life, and helping people navigate their space and their peace.
Yeah. Give them their space.
Yeah, I mean,
that's great. So, before we wrap up, we got about 10 minutes. I want to talk about a few things that I think that speak to you outside of business. So, you've been a part of this community, St. Tammany Parish, for a long time, right? How long have you been in St. Tammany Parish?
I think I moved here and my wife is always, I'm horrible with my dates, but I got married in 80, I think 92, 91.
Gosh, you've been here for almost over 30 years.
Yeah.
And you've done a lot of real estate development in the area, and St. Tammany Parish has done a lot for your life and your family. It's a big part of who you are, and you give back to St. Tammany Parish, right? So you're a big part of the different boards and different things you have going on. And one of those things that we do is Hawks for the Cause. We're on the same Hawks for the Cause team. We have a good time doing it. And, we raise money for kids with pediatric brain cancer, right? Different end of the life spectrum, but it's still important to both of us. So, I just want to kind of give an idea of what St. Tammany Parish means to you in Southeast Louisiana, the place where you're pouring into, and then what you're doing to kind of give back to the community, so people know that.
You mentioned the Hogs for Cause. I chuckle a little bit about that, because you can see the difference between age between Jarrett and me. And so most of the people on the team are more Jarrett's age. So I was like, why did they recruit me? And it dawned on me, well, I have a different donor group of people, right? So they recruited someone older. Yeah, they were a little smart. They got someone a little bit older, but
we have a good time.
Hogs for the Cause is something that I think that is obviously it's incredible to be able to help families that are really dealing with something that is so impactful at such an early age. Typically, we're dealing with people mainly that have lived a good life for the most part and up in age, so that's even more powerful. As far as St. Tammany, I got here and I spent 20 years in the seafood business, so you may have not known that. So I did that for first right out of college for many, many years, and we imported product from all over the world and bought and sold and traded that. And then my real estate story is I met a guy on the golf course one day, and my first piece of real estate is I bought an old grocery store in Abita Springs. It was called, I think it's called Artex now.
Yeah.
But, bought that, and then I met a guy on the golf course that happened to be, it's crazy that we brought that up. It was a Chinese guy, and I didn't really know him. He was in the seafood business and very, very wealthy guy. I just was hooked up at a foursome with him, and he started asking me what did I do for a living. And oddly enough, I haven't told this story much, but I had been watching. Back then, they had all the zoning meetings on Channel 15.
Yeah.
I'd been watching the zoning meetings for about 4 or 5 years. It just was watching Kelly McHugh and all these guys, and then go in front and present their cases. And I was just found it fascinating. Anyway, that gentleman that day asked me if I had any other interests. I said, I've been watching this, real estate development and this. And he goes, you find property, I help you. I went out that next week and found 80 acres off Brewster Road, and that guy wrote me $847,000 check on a handshake.
Wow.
And that's what got me into the real. I developed Dominion with the first one, and then went and did a few more, and then ultimately, we founded Terabella and sold that, and thank God that, Bo Brothers came around and Steve Tujak and made a big impact in my life. But so it was, the real estate business. But St. Tammany's been, not knowing that business, but learning that business. And then, that's itself has a lot of ups and downs. But just being here, and I love St. Tammany, and I love, my wife and my kids, and just being in the school systems here from private to public. It's awesome. And why wouldn't I want to help all of these families in here that I spent the lion's share of my life in St. Tammany. So for me to want to give back to the community and Hogs for the Cause, and I've been on a lot of other boards over my time here, but I'm a servant, and I'm here to serve anybody. When I leave this right here, I'm driving to Springfield to serve a lady that found me on the internet last night. I helped her grandfather come out of a nursing home and die at home with his wife he's been married with for 65 years. So I'm just a servant. And so I love serving St. Tammany. I love St. Tammany. I love what y'all do. Y'all are incredible. I mean, y'all are another breed of people. I'm not saying it because I'm sitting in your office here, but I watch you, and you're like, I wish I could just duplicate some of what you offer, both of y'all. So that's so true. I mean, you're like a machine. I did all over SOPs and all. You know what? We have a lot of protocols, and we have that because of what we do. But
regulation,
it's something that you have to have. So I tend to ramble a little bit, but my heart's here. I love this place, and I'll probably end up someone being on my own hospice company, serving me right at the end of my life, right
in Terabella, right?
maybe I'm here. Anyway,
I'll come knock on your door and tell you, hey,
full circle.
Well, cool, man. Well, it's great. I think you did a great job. It was a great conversation. I know people are going to get value out of this. It's a different conversation about mindset and from a different perspective, right? You've done a lot, and I think a lot of people we have on here haven't gone through the things you've gone through. So people will find it insightful to hear somebody who is still making an impact after doing all the things you've done, and know that it's a marathon, not a sprint, and you're proving that and constantly working on yourself. I mean, after doing everything you've done, to still feel as though you have more to learn is huge. So Thank you.
You never stop growing.
Yeah.
You just have to continue to grow. When if you stop that, then it's game over.
Yeah, for sure.
I was about to say, if I ever say we've reached it, then put me in hospice.
You're not gonna. Even if you're in hospice, you can still make an impact.
Right.
I tell people that. I always said to this. I say that in the senior living community, when I found this lady, she was 99 years old. And I go, "Why are you here?" Because she had the resources, so she could live anywhere. She goes, "You know what? I'm here because I want to give my children and my grandchildren freedom, because they know I'm here, I'm safe, I'm getting my meals every day, and they can live their life. And this is what I save for, so they can live their life, and I am not a burden on them."
Wow. That's awesome. That's huge.
I love it. It's friendlier than my dad tells me. Just find a tree.
Go swim and take me offshore.
That's right.
Well, if people want to talk to you more, they can see you on the pickleball court.
They can see me there. I try to get that. I try to get
the gym and the sauna, hanging out and working on yourself. So I appreciate you coming on, Mark.
You know what? Y'all are making a big impact in our community, and y'all keep doing what you're doing. And thanks for having me. And if anybody wants to any part of an education on what hospice can do for the family, then Foundations Hospice. We're here to serve anybody in our area.
Love it.
Thank you, man.
Thanks.